A boy vanished from a porch. 40 years of silence. One bone whispered back. Chillicothe, Ohio, June 1982. A 6-year-old boy steps off his grandmother's porch, sneakers untied, son on his shoulders. He's going to ride his bike. He never comes back. His name was Charles Edward Mauk Jr. They called him Chucky. Freckles, a gap-toothed grin, the kind of kid every neighborhood had. The bike was found. The boy wasn't. For 4 decades, the case sat in a box. Detectives died. Parents died. The town moved on. Everyone moved on except the dirt. Because the dirt remembered. The dirt always remembers. And in 2023, the dirt finally spoke. Act 1. The Stain. A summer afternoon, a missing child, a town that turned itself inside out. June 12, 1982, a Saturday, the kind of day that smelled like cut grass and gasoline from the lawnmowers. Chucky was staying with his grandmother on Hearn Street, a working-class block, porches sagging, screen doors slapping. He told her he was going outside to play. That was the last sentence anyone remembers him speaking. By dinner time, the porch was empty. By dusk, his mother was screaming his name down alleyways. By midnight, half of Chillicothe was holding flashlights. They found the bike 3 blocks away, tipped over, front wheel still spinning, some said. Though memory bends things, twists them, makes them worse. No blood, no struggle, no witness. Just a child-sized absence in the shape of a summer afternoon. The cops came, then the state troopers, then the FBI. They dragged ponds, searched the woods off Western Avenue, knocked on every door from Yoktanji Park to the flood wall. Nothing. Not a thread. Not a footprint. Not a single useful word from a single useful mouth. Chillicothe in 1982 was a town of about 23,000 people. Paper mill town. Everybody knew everybody. And yet a 6-year-old boy had been swallowed whole in broad daylight. His mother, Diana, made flyers, thousands of them. She stapled them to telephone poles until her hands bled. His father, Charles Sr., walked the railroad tracks at night, calling the name, just the name, over and over into the dark. Chucky, Chucky, Chucky. The summer turned to fall. Fall turned to a brutal Ohio winter. The snow covered everything. And under that snow, somewhere, was the truth. But the truth in Chillicothe had a habit of staying buried. The detectives had a list of suspects. Drifters, neighbors, a registered offender 2 streets over. They questioned them all. They cleared them all. And the box marked Mauk got pushed to the back of a shelf, where it would sit for 41 years. Act 2. The Shadows. Wrong men, dead ends, a mother who refused to bury an empty grave. The 80s bled into the 90s. Cops retired. New cops took over. The file got dusty, then digital, then forgotten. Every few years, a journalist would call. Every few years, Diana Mauk would answer the phone with the same trembling voice. No, they haven't found him yet. There were leads. Oh, there were always leads. A trucker who passed through town that weekend. Cleared. A man seen talking to a child near the park. Cleared. A confession from a prison inmate 3 states over, looking for attention. Cleared, of course. He'd never set foot in Ohio. Then came the rumors. The ones small towns whisper at the gas pump and the church potluck. Someone's uncle, someone's cousin, someone who acted strange that summer. The cops chased every whisper. None of them led to a body. None of them led to a boy. In 1989, a skull was found in a wooded area near Frankfurt. The town held its breath. It wasn't him. It was a teenage girl. Another mystery for another box. Diana never moved. Same house, same phone number, same porch light burning every night from sundown to sunrise. In case he came home. In case he was lost and needed to find the light. Charles Sr. died in 2003. Diana said he died of a broken heart that just took 21 years to finish the job. The case went cold, truly cold. The kind of cold that freezes the marrow of an entire police department. Then in 2019, Ohio's Bureau of Criminal Investigation got new tools. Forensic genetic genealogy. The same technique that caught the Golden State Killer. They started reopening old cases, pulling old evidence, re-examining old bones. And in a county not far from Chillicothe, a coroner remembered something. A small set of remains found in 1985, 3 years after Chucky vanished. Never identified. Filed as a John Doe, a child, maybe 5, maybe 6. The bones had been sitting in storage for 38 years. Somebody finally pulled the box. Act 3. The Deviant. Behind one of the cleared faces, a rot the town had refused to smell. Here's the thing about small towns. They protect their own, even when their own are monsters. When investigators went back through the 1982 witness statements with modern eyes, a name kept floating up. A name that had been questioned. A name that had been cleared. A name that belonged to someone who had lived just streets away from Chucky's grandmother. An adult man. A neighbor. The kind of neighbor who waved on the porch and brought casseroles to funerals. The kind of neighbor whose basement no one ever asked about. Old interviews resurfaced. He'd been asked where he was that Saturday. He said he was working. His employer at the time confirmed it. Case closed. Except the employer was his brother-in-law. And the brother-in-law had died in 1994, taking that alibi into the ground with him. The man cleared in 1982 had already been convicted in 1991 of molesting 2 boys in a neighboring county, and nobody connected the dots for 30 more years. Read that again. He went to prison in 91 for crimes against children. And not one detective in Chillicothe walked back to the Mauk file and asked the obvious question. He served 8 years, got out, lived quietly, died of natural causes in 2014, in his own bed, surrounded by family. A man who, investigators now believe, knew exactly what happened to Chucky-Mauk. A man who took it with him. His name has been withheld in some reports, released in others. The family has asked for privacy. Privacy, as if he ever gave any to the boy on the bike. Detectives obtained DNA from a surviving relative through a court order in late 2022. They compared it to the unidentified child remains found in 1985. They were looking for one answer, and one answer only. Was the John Doe Chucky? The lab took 97 days. 97 days that Diana Mauk, now 73 years old, sat by the same phone, in the same house, with the same porch light burning. Then the phone rang. Act 4. The Trap. A bone, a database, a mother's 41-year wait, answered in one phone call. February 2023, The lab confirmed it. The small set of bones recovered in 1985 in a wooded ravine 17 miles from Chillicothe, bones that had been labeled, boxed, and forgotten, belonged to Charles Edward Mauk Jr. Chucky was found 41 years, 7 months, 3 weeks after he stepped off that porch. The genetic genealogy hadn't just matched the bones to the boy. It had also done something else. It had drawn a circle around the geography of his death. The ravine where he was found was on land that, in 1982, had been frequented by exactly one person of interest: the neighbor. The man with the dead brother-in-law alibi. The man who had been convicted of child sex crimes a decade later. Investigators can't try a dead man. They can't cuff a ghost. They can't read Miranda rights to a corpse. But they can name him. And in March of 2023, in a press conference held in a small county building, they did. Named, after 4 decades of silence. Named. Sheriff's deputies stood in front of cameras, voices shaking. They explained the DNA, the genealogy, the reconstructed timeline. The neighbor who had been there all along. The killer had lived 400 feet from the porch. 400 feet. Diana Mauk had passed his house on foot 10,000 times, bought groceries near his street, waved at him at the post office. The man who knew where her son was, smiling back. She was told the news in her living room by 2 detectives, sitting on the same couch where she'd sat in 1982, waiting for the phone to ring. She didn't scream. She didn't collapse. She just whispered one word. Finally. Act 5. The Void. The body comes home. The monster never paid. The porch light goes out. They held a funeral in May 2023. 41 years after the disappearance, Chucky Mauk was buried in Grandview Cemetery in Chillicothe. A small white casket. Because the bones were small. Because he was small. He had stayed 6 years old forever. The town that had forgotten him remembered him now. Hundreds came, strangers, old classmates who were now grandparents, detectives who'd worked the case at every stage of their careers, some in wheelchairs, some on oxygen. His mother sat in the front row, in a black dress she had owned for 20 years and never had the occasion to wear. Because there had been nothing to bury. Until now. The killer paid nothing. He died comfortable. He died loved. His grave is unmarked by his crimes, while a 6-year-old's grave is marked by 41 years of his mother's tears. This is the part the movies lie about, the part where justice is supposed to arrive. Justice didn't arrive. Confirmation did. And confirmation is a colder, quieter thing than justice. But for Diana Mauk, it was enough. It had to be. Because the alternative was another 41 years of porch lights and ringing phones and a closet full of small clothes that no one ever grew into. She told a reporter after the funeral that she finally turned the porch light off for the first time since June 12, 1982. Epilogue. What remains when the truth arrives too late to punish anyone? Chillicothe is still there. The paper mill still hums. The porches still sag. And somewhere on Hearn Street, a grandmother's house has new owners who probably don't know that on a Saturday afternoon in 1982, a little boy walked off that porch and into 41 years of silence. He was found. He was named. He was buried. The killer was named too, after he was already dust, after he had eaten 1,000 dinners and slept 10,000 peaceful nights. The dirt remembered. The bones spoke. The mother heard. and the porch light at last went dark.